welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going straight into something really foundational to the Christian faith, the mission. But we're not looking at it as, just another obligation.
Yeah.
The source, we've got a really interesting piece called A Call Beyond Obligation, explores this idea of mission as a core mandate, something, well, much deeper than just a task.
Exactly. Forget the usual kind of surface level view. This source really wants to unpack the history, the spiritual significance, and that transformative power you hear about.
Right.
It really challenges us to shift, from seeing it as just a duty, something we should do, to understanding it as totally essential to our identity, really.
Yeah.
The document looks broadly, from the divine command itself right through to the complexities of actually living this mission today in this incredibly diverse world.
And it acknowledges the Great Commission isn't finished.
Right up front,
Yeah.
Far from over.
Okay, so let's really dig into this then. This idea of mission as the church's essence. The document uses this, vivid analogy. A church without mission is like a body without a heartbeat. That kind of stops you in your tracks, doesn't it?
It really does. Stark but powerful. The source emphasizes that the Great Commission, Matthew 28.1920.
Go and make disciples.
Exactly that. That instruction isn't just like a helpful suggestion or some secondary thing. It's presented as the fundamental blueprint for why the church even exists.
Not just a detail.
No, absolutely central to the whole design.
Right. And here's where it gets, really interesting. The document suggests that when a church fully embraces this, lives it out,
Yeah.
it actually flourishes, it gets vibrant.
Mm-hmm.
But if it neglects this core thing, it risks fading, becoming irrelevant.
Yeah, and it brings in that powerful city on a hill idea.
Right. Meant to be a beacon.
A clear light, yeah. And without actively pursuing the mission, it kind of risks becoming just inward-looking, just talking to itself instead of impacting the world.
Like a lighthouse switching off its lamp.
That's a good way to put it. What's fascinating, too, is the shift in why we do this mission.
Okay.
It pushes us to see it as driven by love, fundamentally. A response to God's love and love for others, not just, obligation.
Duty versus love.
Right. And the document's clear. It's not just saying words proclaiming. It's equally, maybe even more powerfully, about showing the gospel through actions.
Mirroring Christ.
Exactly. His healing, his love, forgiveness, service, all of it.
That makes sense. What we do speaks louder, often. And I like how it contrasted mission as this, heavy responsibility.
Yeah. Something you have to do.
Yeah, contrasted that with seeing it as a privilege,
Yeah.
an incredible opportunity to actually participate in God's plan.
That totally reframes it, doesn't it?
It does not a burden, but an invitation.
Exactly. And it uses this compelling image.
Yeah.
A single candle in total darkness.
Oh, yeah.
That one little flame representing even small acts of love and truth through the mission. It has this profound power to push back the darkness. And it connects that right back to Matthew 5.14, that city on a hill.
The light meant to be seen.
Reinforcing that image, yeah. It can't really be hidden effectively. Makes you think about the impact of even, small things.
So, if this mission is so central and driven by love, who's actually responsible for it? Because it feels easy to think, that's the pastors, the missionary.
The professionals.
Yeah, the full-timers. But the document's pretty direct on this, isn't it?
Absolutely. Unequivocally. The source underlines that it's not just for a select few.
Okay.
It's presented as the fundamental calling for every single believer, period.
Every single one.
Yeah. Each person, it argues, is sort of strategically placed in their own unique mission field.
Like where?
Your workplace, school, your community, your family, your everyday places.
Okay.
So the key question isn't if we have a role, but will we actually, consciously step into it with courage?
And it points to history, right? How ordinary people saying yes made a huge impact.
It does. It highlights how some of the biggest revivals, these profound spiritual awakenings, they weren't always led by famous figures, often by ordinary men and women who just faithfully said yes to this call. That's incredibly encouraging, I think.
It really is.
It shows how the early church grew so explosively. Ordinary believers carried the message with passion, with conviction in their daily lives.
It wasn't just a top-down strategy.
Not solely, no. It was this collective grassroots action. Countless individuals understood the mission was for everyone following Christ. It really speaks to that power of individual commitment.
Which brings us back to the Great Commission itself, Matthew 28.19.
Yeah.
The document really hammers home that this isn't just like a historical note.
No, it calls it the heartbeat of the church.
A heartbeat. Wow.
This enduring, continuous call that's shaped history and still resonates today.
And it stresses its timelessness.
Exactly. Unlike human rules or cultural trends that fade, the core of the Great Commission transcends all that. Cultural shifts, politics, generations. The essence remains. Followers are called to share his message, make disciples.
Whether it's first century Jerusalem or modern London.
Exactly. The core instruction is just as relevant, powerfully relevant.
But let's be real, today's world is complex. Very different from the first century. The document acknowledges the urgency and the complexity now.
It definitely does.
What are some of the big challenges it points out?
Well, it highlights several key things. First, competing ideologies are huge now. Secular humanism, various pluralistic worldviews. They challenge the gospel's claims directly.
Okay.
Then there are deep cultural complexities in our globalized world. Values, beliefs, they vary so much.
Yeah.
And finally, it mentions spiritual apathy, just indifference, which can actually be a bigger hurdle than outright opposition sometimes.
Like people aren't arguing against it, they're just not interested. Or maybe unaware of its relevance.
That's often the challenge, yeah. So the document stresses that our mission now isn't only about proclaiming the message verbally.
Okay.
It's about presenting Christ in a way that's genuinely transformative, relevant to their lives, and ultimately compelling.
So just stating facts isn't enough anymore.
It suggests not. We also need to actively cultivate discipleship, nurturing people into a deeper lived faith.
And it makes this really important distinction, right, between just proclaiming, getting the info out, and actually making disciples. Can you break that down?
Absolutely. Proclamation is described as that vital first step, planting the seed, sharing the core message.
Okay.
But discipleship, that's the ongoing process. Watering, nurturing, cultivating that seed until it matures and bears fruit in someone's life.
So Jesus didn't just say make converts.
No, his instruction was make disciples. That implies a journey, walking alongside people, teaching, guiding, equipping them to really live their faith in everything.
And it's that focus, the journeying alongside, that creates the ripple effect the source mentions.
Exactly right. True discipleship isn't static, it's dynamic. It flows outward.
Okay.
People who are being discipled, growing, living it out, they naturally become equipped and motivated to disciple others. It extends the impact exponentially, creates a movement.
The document really drives home this point about the mission's significance, calling it the lifeblood of a living faith. That's strong language.
It is. It keeps saying, without this active mission, the church doesn't just lose focus, it risks losing its very reason for being, its vitality.
Revisiting those analogies.
Yeah, the body without breath, the river without water, the candle without flame.
Stark images.
They paint that picture of stagnation, becoming inward-focused, ineffective if this core purpose is neglected. And it firmly reinforces.
Yeah.
This isn't just for the elites or pastors.
It's for everyone.
A direct personal calling for every single believer. Universal.
And it's not just about the health of one church community, is it? It talks about broader historical impact, too.
How prioritizing mission historically led to incredible transformations. Whole nations, cultures, countless lives changed.
And the flip side.
It contrasts that with what happens when the church turns inward, when it neglects that outward call.
What happens then?
History shows a clear pattern, the source argues. When the church engages wholeheartedly in evangelism and discipleship, that the impact is undeniable.
Positive impact.
Yes. But conversely, when the focus shifts inward comfort, maintaining institutions, self-preservation, a decline sets in.
Yeah.
In vitality, in influence.
So the church thrives when reaching out, withers when self-absorbed.
Demonstrably so, according to this perspective.
So this idea of every believer as a missionary, that gets a lot of emphasis. It's clearly not just talking about people going overseas.
Not at all. That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
Global missions to unreached people are vital, absolutely essential.
Right.
But the fundamental reality is that every believer is a missionary, just by virtue of their faith. Because every human heart, everywhere, is a potential mission field.
Like his everyday examples.
Yeah. Workplaces, homes, neighbors, the grocery store, coffee shop, wherever we are, whoever we're with, we carry that potential to be light and truth.
And it brings back that challenge. Not are we called, but will we answer that call in our own lives?
Yes. And there's this pressing sense of urgency tied to it.
Why the urgency?
Eternal stakes, for those who haven't heard. And generations passing so quickly. It quotes Luke 10:2. The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few.
Right. Underscoring the need.
Exactly. The need for intentionality, consciously choosing to share, boldness overcoming fear, and a lifelong commitment to discipleship.
And the focus isn't just numbers.
No, it pointedly reminds us the focus is on individual souls, their eternal destiny.
Now, actually doing this, stepping into that role today, in this diverse, complex world that brings unique challenges. The document spends time on this.
It does, very wisely. Acknowledging the Great Commission isn't one size fits all in practice.
The core message is constant.
Unchanging, yes. But how we communicate, how we build relationships, that needs thought, sensitivity to different cultures, beliefs, spiritual climates.
Across the globe and even next door.
Right. So effective evangelization needs wisdom, discernment.
And it paints this picture of a really varied spiritual landscape today.
Yeah, thriving churches in some places, intense persecution in others, and then these vast areas where the gospel's barely been heard.
Can you give examples?
Sure. It mentions the flourishing in parts of Africa, Latin America, Southeast Asia. Then contrast that with persecution in the Middle East, North Korea, parts of China.
Big differences.
Huge. And then the millions in unreached, often resistant cultures scattered everywhere. It just underscores the need to understand and engage thoughtfully with these contexts.
And it brings up the Apostle Paul as an example of adapting communication effectively.
Yes, specifically Acts 17, Paul in Athens.
What did he do there?
He didn't start by quoting Hebrew scripture. His Greek audience wouldn't know it. Instead, he connected with their culture, referenced their poets, their philosophers.
Found common ground.
Skillfully, yeah. As a starting point to introduce the gospel, it's a powerful example of needing strategic, culturally aware evangelization today.
So it's about understanding local beliefs, being sensitive to language, symbolism, prioritizing relationships.
Absolutely. Trust, community, relationships are paramount in many cultures. The source emphasizes that mission often works best, bears lasting fruit, through genuine long-term connection.
Living alongside people.
Serving their needs, showing Christ's love in practical ways, embodying the message, not just proclaiming it.
And adapting methods while staying true to the core message. It mentions Jesus' parables, Paul becoming all things to all people.
Right.
What does that look like today?
Being creative, resourceful, using the tools we have now, media, technology, huge potential there for reaching places traditional outreach can't.
Right.
Also, the power of personal testimony, breaking down skepticism, and practical acts of service opening hearts.
So the key question it poses
is a really insightful one. Are we communicating the truth in a way that those we are trying to reach can genuinely understand?
That's challenging. Finally, the document hits this undeniable reality. The unfinished task. The Great Commission isn't done?
Not even close. It emphasizes that powerfully. Despite centuries of effort, millions upon millions remain unreached.
How many are we talking?
It cites research estimating over 3 billion people in unreached people groups, communities where Jesus' name hasn't been meaningfully heard or understood.
3 billion. Wow.
The lighthouse analogy comes back, vast areas still spiritually unilluminated.
And it names specific areas.
Yeah, the 1040 window, persecuted regions, remote tribes, hidden communities, places without scripture in their language even. It's a significant, sobering picture.
And it frames this not just as a challenge, but a crisis.
A profound spiritual crisis, yes. It's meant as a wake-up call to the church.
Questioning complacency.
Complacency, where we put our resources, our investments, and ultimately our willingness to go to the difficult places.
Literally or figuratively?
Both. And reminding us that the unreached aren't just over there. They're often in our own communities, too.
Right. And that urgency comes back again.
Powerfully. Every day, people pass away without ever having the chance to hear and respond to the gospel.
So given this huge, urgent need, what actions does it suggest? What can people do?
Several practical things. First, foundational, consistent, fervent prayer. For the unreached, for more workers.
Okay.
Then actively, generously supporting missionaries, church planters, Bible translators, those on the front lines.
Financial support, practical help.
Exactly. And finally, it challenges each person to prayerfully consider their own willingness to go, whether that's across the globe or just across the street.
So wrapping up this deep dive, a call beyond obligation really shows the Christian mission isn't just another task. It's fundamental, urgent, rooted in love, essential for the church's life.
And it demands adaptability, cultural awareness, and recognizing this huge, unfinished task before us in this incredibly diverse world with deep spiritual needs.
And that leaves us with a final thought for you to ponder, drawn from the source's reflections.
Consider this. How might intentionally viewing every single interaction you have with colleagues, family, strangers as a potential mission field, an opportunity to reflect Christ's love and truth? How might that fundamentally alter your daily life, your priorities, your decisions?
That's definitely something to think about, a potentially life-changing perspective.